Part 40. Super Role Player. Author, Yuan-san Buletinji. Chapter 411. Author, Yuan-san Unknown. Plus, come to read novels. Plus. Romance * novel website, mobile phone look even more cool. Plus, pause, Tristote's arrangement is very simple, blocking Angzi. He made a gesture and asked Nicholas Batum and Wesley Matthews to double team faster. Now the Blazers must trying to lock Angzi. Nicholas, once Angzi gets the ball, he will immediately double team, and other players must also respond well and lock every point where Angzi can pass the ball. In addition, on the offensive end, we can play faster. The timeout came to an end soon, and neither side changed players and continued to fight with the main lineup. After the timeout, the Blazers immediately showed their change on the offensive end. Robin Lopez pulled the outside pick and roll screen, and Damian Lillard with the ball moved one step further and directly scored another three-pointer. Only heard a scream. In the middle of 3 points, the Moda Center suddenly became a sea of cheers. The live commentator at the Blazers' home court couldn't help shouting, "Damian Lillard! Beautiful three-pointer!" At 11:13, the Blazers continued to fall behind by 2 points. Damian Lillard's three-pointer relieved the Blazers. Then, they only need to stabilize the defense. The victory of this game is still within easy reach. The 76ers offense Angzi continued to take the ball, and the Blazers continued to guard against Angzi. Nicholas Batum stared at him not far away. When Angzi just showed his intention to play singles, Batum came directly. It was a double-double team again. An 11 chose to pass the ball. He is not a reckless man. Naturally, he knows that at this time, the best choice is to pass the ball. It was Jack Lauder who received the ball. There was a 1-second open opportunity in front of him. However, the Blazers quickly rotated the defense. Aldridge made up and filled the vacancy. Jack Lauder could only continue to pass the ball. But it passed back and forth, but it didn't give a good opportunity. Angzi couldn't stand it anymore. After cutting in with an empty hand, Matthews, who was still closely following the defense, was stuck at the free throw line and opened his hand for the ball. Away with the ball directly gave the basketball out. Angzi received the ball, and Batum quickly wrapped it up again. But this time, Angzi made a quick shot, turned a jumper, and shot the basketball with a bang, but didn't make it. The shot was a little anxious, and 11 shook his head and turned to the defensive end. The 76ers lead is only 2 points left. Damian Lillard's offense is very resolute. Kawhi was a little unable to stop Lillard, and Lillard once again passed through and rushed to the three-point line. NEI, ignoring Cole Aldridge's external defense, hit a jumper with a scream after an emergency stop. Go in again. The score equalized. After the Blazers missed consecutively, Damian Lillard opened fire, scoring 11 points. Damian Lillard also broke out. In the 76ers offense, Angzi took the ball behind his back. From this moment, the game has become an exchange between Angzi and Lillard. Nicholas Batum wrapped up, facing the double team, Angzi calmly, carrying the two, another turnover jumper, more difficult than the previous one. All the fans on the sidelines opened their mouths and stared at the trajectory of the basketball leap. Looking forward to basketball hitting iron. But, with a scream, come in. Angzi shook his hand and scored 15 points in a row. He has completely gone away in this quarter. Faced with a double-double team turnover jumper, Angzi made it again. Maybe the Blazers should consider whether they used the unique three-player double-teaming tactic in history. Charles Barkley joked. Everything on the court turned towards him, looking forward to the development of that scene. Damian Lillard continued to hold the ball. Lillard's 11 consecutive points made Angzi understand that this very popular point guard in the City of Tears, although only a second-year student, has a strong resilience and explosive scoring power. Lillard had the ball outside, but Angzi didn't think about it, so he chose to change defense. In this game, the 76ers and Angzi have only one goal, which can only be victory. And if you want to win, you must lock Damian Lillard, who also has an explosive trend. Angzi met Lillard, and the fans on the sidelines were excited, and some Blazers fans even shouted, "Damian, teach that Chinese man." Looking at Angzi standing firmly in front of him, Lillard didn't care about the shouts on the sidelines. He knew Angzi's defense was strong, so he was very serious and careful. After making 2 hip dribbles in a row, Damian Lillard chose to make a tentative breakthrough towards an 11's right side. An 11 moved a half step to block Lillard, and then the whole person was attached to Lila. De body. Then, stretched out his long arm, aimed at the basketball, and forcibly grabbed it. Death coil. Damian Lillard struggled, turning around to break free of Angzi's defense, but at this moment, with a crisp bang, an 11 shot the basketball sideways and directly launched a fast break, leaving Damian Lillard stunned in place. Steal. Angzi's aggressive defense directly stole Damian Lillard, and it's a fast break. Rushing to the front and making a heavy dunk, Angzi scored the 17th point in the first quarter. The 76ers also led the Blazers by 4 points at 17-13. Perfect offense and defense, Angzi locked Damian Lillard, but Lillard was not convinced. After getting the ball in the backcourt, he faced Angzi again. Angzi stood up, the confrontation between the two was silent, no one was talking rubbish, and then there was the sound of muscles colliding with muscles. Angzi again resorted to death entanglement. He kept reaching out to grab the basketball in Lillard's hand, but this time, Lillard learned to be smart. An 11 slapped Lillard directly on the arm with a fake move. Beep. The referee awarded Angzi a defensive foul. Fortunately, the number of fouls has not yet arrived and no free throws are needed. Angzi walked to the side depressed and the Blazers served from the sideline. Damian Lillard ran back and received the basketball, but Angzi still blocked him. Although he didn't rush to steal the ball again, Lillard still felt uncomfortable. He held it for a while and watched the time. Not enough, a pass to Aldridge, the big train Aldridge made a shot and hit the buzzer. At 17-15, the 76ers continued to maintain a 2-point lead, and the possession of the next attack still belonged to the 76ers. Angzi continued to play singles, but this time, he turned over when facing Matthews' defense and missed a jumper. Inside Robin Lopez took off the rebound. The Blazers got a chance to tie the score. However, Lillard also missed the mid-range shot against Angzi's defense. The insider Thaddeus Young grabbed the rebound and the 76ers continued to attack. Angzi turned over again to shoot a jumper inside, this time with a precise hit, and a slam pierced the hearts of the Trail Blazers fans. Angzi scored again. More than half of the first quarter, Charles Barkley looked at the technical statistics and Angzi scored 19 points. 19 points in a single quarter? It has exploded enough, and now these 19 points have a chance to continue to grow. Charles Barkley began to think about the league's single quarter scoring record. It didn't take long to think, Kenny, the league's regular season single quarter scoring record is 33 points, right? George Gervin created. Kenny Smith knew what Charles Barkley said and knew what he was should. He also understood what Charles Barkley meant, and continued along with Charles Barkley. Yes, the single quarter scoring record belongs to George Gervin, 33. However, Carmelo Anthony also scored 33 points in a single quarter during the Nuggets period, tying this record. Now Angzi has scored 19 points, just halfway through the first quarter. Perhaps we can expect Angzi to break this record. Up. On the court, Angzi continued to defend Lillard. He still performed very tenaciously. Under Angzi's defense, through various fake moves, he found a space and quickly shot the basketball. Swish, the ball is in. Damian Lillard waved his hands excitedly, and the commentator on the Moda Center shouted, Damian Lillard broke through Angzi's defense. 2 points are credited. At 19-17, the Blazers bit the difference. And then, they continued to lock Angzi on the defensive end. This time, Batum's double teaming came in time. Angzi controlled for a while, still wanting to turn around forcibly to make a jumper, but Matthews got stuck. Angzi, there is no way for Angzi to turn around. In desperation, an 11 chose to pass the ball. Angzi's pass was not random. He looked around. The Blazers had locked the pass near Angzi, but in the distance, Thaddeus Young jumped up and raised his hand for the ball. Angzi transferred the ball in a wide range and passed it high. Trice Totes was taken aback and stood on the sidelines and shouted loudly, "Lock him up! Lock him up!" Robin Lopez, who was not far away, quickly reacted and threw on directly, interfering with Thaddeus Young's shot. But with a beep, he caused Robin Lopez's foul. Thaddeus Young slapped the passer Angzi, stepped to the free throw line, and made 2 free throws. Finally, in addition to Angzi, the 76ers also scored other players. 21-17, the Blazers' outside attack. Damian Lillard continued to face Angzi, and then accelerated and staggered to squeeze Angzi to break through. Then with momentum, Lillard threw the shot with a bang, and missed the shot. Then, Angzi turned over and didn't make a jumper when facing a double team. The two sides once again hit the iron at the same time, but the Blazers still failed to find the site in the next wave of offense. Lillard faced Angzi's defense and did not force any more shots. After a while, he passed the ball to Aldridge on the inside line. Aldridge played inside alone. After attracting the defense, he scored again and Matthews on the outside line. It was the first shot in this game, but with a bang, it also ended in a strike. Fortunately, Robin Lopez grabbed the rebound and the Blazers reorganized the offense. Damian Lillard once again broke through Angzi, but was still entangled by Angzi. Divide the ball again. This time, Matthews on the outside did not miss another chance, and with a scream, he hit a three-pointer. He used Batum's pick-and-roll screens to get rid of Mkaway and get this open opportunity. A three-pointer, 21-20, the 76ers' possession of the ball. With the last 4 minutes left in the first quarter, Brett Brown walked to the sidelines and called a timeout. He was about to substitute. The substitution is very simple. James Anderson replaced Mkaway, and then directly let Angzi top the point guard position, and the power forward position replaced Thaddeus Young with Spencer Hawes, which enhanced the height of the inside line. Angzi's position as a point guard can be regarded as a change Brett Brown has often used in recent games. When every team cannot start a situation and needs Angzi to fight alone, Brett Brown will make such adjustments directly. Let Angzi play the point guard, fully control the ball, plus a few outside shooters replaced, pull space, create more offensive space for Angzi. After replacing James Anderson, who averaged a three-pointer per game, the lineup on the field became Angzi holding the ball, with the bottom corner Jack Lauder and James Anderson waiting for the ball, Spencer Hawes high screen or support, plus Cole Aldridge's rebound protection. This lineup can be considered a good lineup. After the timeout, the 76ers immediately put on such a posture. The Blazers also changed players. Matthews continued to play, Terry Stotts replaced Dorell Wright, the wing continued to strengthen the defense against Angzi, and then Thomas Robinson replaced LaMarcus Aldridge to strengthen the hardness of the inner line. Angzi continued to face Matthews' defense, he directly chose to break through, Dorell Wright wrapped up, Angzi continued to break through, Dorell Wright just leaned in, and 11 suddenly turned around and jumped directly. As a result, a picture immediately appeared on the court, and 11 leaned back for a jumper. Wesley Matthews and Dorell Wright jumped up at the same time and pounced towards Angzi in the same position. The two joined hands to seal off the space in front of Angzi. With a scream, Angzi's backward jumper still hit. Angzi scored his 21st point. With more than 3 minutes left in the first quarter, Anzi still has unlimited possibilities to break the single quarter scoring record maintained by George Gervin and Carmelo Anthony. But then, an 11 quickly changed his offensive style. Because of the next wave of offense, an 11 encountered a double team again, Dorell Wright's movements became stronger, and as a last resort, an 11 chose to pass the ball. Then, James Anderson at the bottom corner jumped high, and with a scream, he hit the three-pointer. James Anderson contributed, and Anzi decided to increase his passing. With the last goal of the first quarter and the 76 ERS offense, there were only 16 seconds left in the first quarter. After Anzi advanced to the front court, there were only 11 seconds left. With 11 seconds, Anzi started directly. Breakthrough. Dorell Wright wrapped up at the beginning, Anzi turned around and avoided Dorell Wright, but after this turn, there was not enough time. The outside line forced another turn, Anzi turned around and pulled out a jumper, pressing the timer buzzer to throw the basketball. Then, scream. The Moda center made a sound of inhalation, because after this three-pointer hit, Anzi scored 26 points in the first quarter. 26 points in a single quarter. Anzi proved his strength. Although he failed to break George Gervin's record, with these 26 points alone, Anzi is enough to prove that he is worthy of the top vote. 3 sentences staying true to the core, Anzi's performance against the Sky is to prove that he is worthy of the throne of the Vote King. He wants to convince this group of radical fans in the United States. Plus, romance when you read novels. *novel.com, it's even cooler to watch on mobile phones. Plus. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen-san Buletinji. Chapter 413. In Miami, William Hunt grabbed the remote control and turned off the TV. When novels. With 26 points in a single quarter, LeBron James never did it, but Anzi did it. LeBron James's highest score in a single quarter is 24 points, 2 points less than Anzi. Now, Anzi has only scored 24 points in the first quarter. There will be 3 more quarters of the game. It is very likely to create a career record for the highest scoring. In particular, Anzi's 26 points in the first quarter were almost all obtained through jump shots. This shows a very scary point. Anzi is in good shape in this game. Anzi continued to play like this, not to mention the highest score in his career, even 81 points can be thought of. After all, Kobe Bryant scored 81 points, which was also cut out by jumping 1 goal and 1 goal. Kobe can do it, in good condition, so can Anzi, who scored 26 points in the first quarter. After the first quarter, the 76ers led the Blazers by 4 points with 35-31. The lead was not big. After a little consideration, Brett Brown asked Anzi's opinion and decided to let Anzi continue to play in the second quarter. In the second quarter, the 76ers switched to a semi-main and semi-substitute lineup, with point guard Anzi, shooting guard James Anderson, small forward Evan Turner, power forward Byron Mullins and center Spencer Hawes. The Blazers also switched to the bench, but LaMarcus Aldridge, who left early in the first quarter to rest, played, plus point guard Mo Williams, shooting guard CJ McCollum, and small forward Nicholas Batum and center Myers Leonard. The Blazers still maintained the defensive rigidity of the wing. They chose to let Batum continue to play against Anzi. Compared to the first quarter, the second quarter was a little flat. Anzi played only 7 minutes, and in these 7 minutes, the 76ers have always had the advantage. Passed through Anzi's continuous shots. After half a quarter, Anzi scored 9 points, plus 1 assist and 2 steals. In the second quarter, the lead was extended by 6 points again. With the lead in the first quarter, the 76ers took the lead. The advantage has reached 10 points. And Anzi also scored 35 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals through this quarter plus 7 minutes of the game, and was then replaced by Brett Brown to rest. The 76ers replaced them Kawhi, but the effect of replacing them Kawhi was not very good, or after the lack of Angzi to hold the line, the 76ers lead began to gradually shrink. Damian Lillard, who came off the bench, scored again and again, but Brett Brown was not in a hurry. He knew that what Angzi needed more at this time was rest, rather than forceful appearances to prop up the team's offense and defense. So Angzi can only watch Lillard keep chasing the points difference. By the end of the second quarter, the score between the two sides had become 63-61, and the 76ers had only the last 2 points left. However, after halftime, the 76ers' performance still aroused heated discussion. Most fans in North America understand the ball after all. They see Angzi's performance in their eyes. In the eyes of fans who understand the ball, the gap between Angzi and LeBron James, in addition to the technical gap, perhaps only the gap between teammates. And even the technical gap is only caused by the different styles of the two. Angzi is a shooter, while LeBron James is a breakthrough player. Angzi is a scoring player, and LeBron James is an all-rounder. The players, the two understand and influence the game. Obviously LeBron James did a better job, because Angzi can only influence the game by scoring, and LeBron James can influence the game by scoring and helping his teammates score. Although there is a gap, Angzi's strength is indelible. LeBron James can become the ticket king, and Angzi can naturally. Therefore, after the first half of the game, a large number of North American fans died down, leaving only some of the most radical ones. The fans continued to abuse Angzi. As far as Angzi is concerned, the abuse of these fans is the motivation for his outbreak. As soon as the second half of the game started, Angzi broke out. Facing Wesley Matthews' defense, Angzi scored a three-pointer. In the three-pointer, Angzi turned around to make a sweeping celebration, and Moda Center booed loudly for a while. 66-61, the Blazers trailed by 5 points. Damian Lillard got the ball in the backcourt and frowned slightly. Angzi's state is so good, it seems that someone really meant to beat a team. After pushing the ball to the front court, Lillard continued to attack resolutely. He cooperated with Matthews on the outside line, reached the inside line to complete the layup, and scored 2 points. But after the ball hit, the Blazers still trailed the 76ers by 3 points. The 76ers continued to attack, because Evan Turner was on the court and Angzi played without the ball. He first ran into the post, and Wesley Matthews also followed him into the post, closely following Angzi. But in this moment, Angzi suddenly came back. With a loud bang, the sound of sneakers rubbing against the floor, Angzi pulled out his legs and accelerated to the top of the arc. Thaddeus Young also gave a pick-and-roll screen in a timely manner, directly blocking Wesley Matthews. Seeing this, Dorell Wright on the other side rushed over to make up for defense. However, Angzi, who rushed to the top of the arc, did not choose to shoot directly. Instead, he pretended to shoot. After swaying Dorell Wright, he took another step before he slowly shot the basketball. With a scream, the basketball pierced the net again. Angzi hit a two-pointer from a long distance, and the individual score came to 40 points. The performance is not over yet. With Evan Turner on the court in the second half, Angzi played more off the ball, but this also won Angzi more open opportunities. 2 minutes later, Angzi got another chance. With the help of Byron Mullins' screen, Wesley Matthews was thrown away, and he rushed beyond the three-point line, stepped directly 24 feet away, and threw another three-pointer. With a sigh, Moda Center sounded a boo in time, the kind of constant boo, because after Angzi's three-pointer hit, the score difference came to 8 points, and the Blazers were about to be defeated by Angzi alone. The Blazers put too much defensive energy into Angzi, but the result of putting so much defensive energy is that Angzi is still scoring goals. An individual score of 43 points is only 4 points away from Angzi's personal scoring record. When Angzi returned to defense, he recalled Ray Allen's regular season scoring record, which seemed to be 54 points. Therefore, Anzi determined his goal early and he was going to break Ray Allen's record in this game. Among the boos, Damian Lillard hit a mid-range shot, narrowing the difference to 6 points, and the boos at Moda Center gradually stopped. And then, Anzi began to hold the ball. He decided to increase his singles. For the first ball, Anzi got stuck in the low position and opened his hand to ask for the ball. Evan Turner gave the ball very happily, and passed the ball directly. An 11 turned his back to the basket and held the ball in the low post. He swayed to the right and shook the Wesley Matthews defense. Turned around and made a layup with a straight arm, and hit it with a scream. The 8-point contrast continued, and Anzi's personal score also came to 45 points, and he has already scored 10 points in the third quarter. Back on the defensive end, Tony Roten was once again overtaken by Lillard, but Anzi was shot out in the diagonal stabbing, and his head and face was a block. With a bang, not only did Lillard's throw, but also he grabbed the basketball and launched a fast break. An 11 rushed to the front three-point line, and the faster Evan Turner had rushed to the basket. The Blazers players shrank to the basket, so an 11 stopped one step beyond the three-point line. Directly shot a chasing three-pointer, Lillard, who was a step slower, tried to interfere from behind, but the basketball had already flown to the rim. Swish. Anzi's chasing 3 points. It's in. His 48th point of the game. Anzi has broken his career single-game scoring record. At the end of the third quarter, the Blazers strengthened their defense against Anzi. Anzi started to play singles from the free throw line and then turned over to shoot, but the hit was not high. In the last few minutes of the third quarter, Anzi made a shot. 5 times only hit 2 goals and scored 4 points. From Ray Allen's single-game scoring record, only the last 2 points are left. In the third quarter, Anzi scored 17 points in a single quarter and continued his strong performance. However, after the third quarter, the suspense of the game was still not divided. The score of the two sides came to 92-83, the 76ers lead the Blazers by 9 points. At the beginning of the fourth quarter, Anzi was replaced and rested again. The game is far from over, and the outcome is far from being divided. Anzi has to hurry up and rest. No accident, the end of the fourth quarter will be this one. The final moment of the game. At the beginning of the fourth quarter, the 76ers played a little slack, but under the leadership of the excellent Evan Turner, the 76ers played very well offensively, launched fast breaks again and again, and dragged the Blazers. The momentum of chasing points. However, in the 5th minute of the fourth quarter, the situation on the court suddenly changed. Damian Lillard broke out again, 2 consecutive three-pointers, and a steal in the middle, directly beat the 76ers, reducing the point difference to 3. At this moment, Brett Brown had to call a timeout. With a beep, the referee's whistle sounded, and Brett Brown didn't talk nonsense, and directly replaced Anzi. He replaced Anzi from Kawhi, who had a mediocre performance in this game, and then replaced James Anderson with Jack Lauder, which strengthened the defense of the perimeter. Finally, he also specially arranged for Anzi to take more shots and score more. What the 76ers need now is Anzi's scoring. After a timeout, Anzi stood on the court. With the last 7 minutes left in the game, the 76ers led by 3 points. This was a real decisive battle. To be continued. T.I. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 414. At 103:100, the 76ers led by 3 points. After the timeout, Anzi held the ball directly to the 76ers and began to play hard against the Blazers. But Anzi soon discovered that something was wrong. Wesley Matthews defended him, and Nicholas Batum also jumped over. The two teamed up and directly doubled Angzi and began to grab the basketball in Angzi's hands. Angzi wanted to pass the ball. But it was too late. He raised the basketball and wanted to throw it out. Batum took a hand and took the basketball out. The ball is broken. The Blazers have the ball, and 11 made a mistake as soon as he came on the court. He was a little depressed. Seeing Batum's pass, he launched a fast attack. Angzi can only sullen his head and run wildly, retreating to the back court. The Blazers' counter-attack came quickly. Damian Lillard rushed to the front court and made a three-pointer. In the eyes of thousands of fans on the scene, the basketball fell into the rim. With a bang, the Moda Center shook. The cheers exploded. Damian Lillard's three-pointer. It's scored. The score equalized. After the goal, Damian Lillard threw a punch with excitement. Moda Center was finally ignited and almost led by the 76ers for a whole game. The Blazers finally tied the score, and now, it is obvious. The Blazers are in better condition, and they are likely to win the final victory. The momentum of the Blazers has risen, and the home fans are also excited. It seems that everything is developing in favor of the Blazers. The 76ers are in trouble. They have led almost a whole game. Although the lead is not much different, now they need to face a pioneer who is sitting on the home court and playing momentum. Angzi controlled the ball from the outside, and there was a shout in unison from the Moda Center. "Essie! Essie!" Wesley Matthews continued to defend Angzi. He stood in front of Angzi in a squatting posture, staring at Angzi firmly. An 11 sighed deeply. He decided to play singles and waved to his teammates to pull away. Wesley Matthews' defense is very focused, but Angzi played very resolutely with this ball. The shouts of Moda Center kept on, Angzi flickered, Wesley Matthews pressed it back, Batum on the side was already ready to move. Angzi understands the Blazers' defensive arrangement. He knows that as long as he breaks through, Batum will immediately double up. It seems that it is impossible to get rid of the defense by speeding up the breakthrough alone. Realizing this, an 11 lowered his center of gravity and pulled his body back, and Matthews hurriedly came over. The moment Matthews came over, an 11 chose to turn around. With two muffled bangs, an 11 took two shots, and then turned around to speed up, squeezed Matthews away, and rushed directly in. Wesley Matthews was fascinated by Angzi's series of actions. After being squeezed by Angzi, he directly lost his defensive position. Batum rushed over to make up the defense, but Batum rushed over. At that moment, Angzi accelerated again and wiped directly from Batum's side. Then a high throw, avoiding Robin Lopez's blockade. With a scream, the basketball hit steadily. Angzi raised his hand, ignoring the boos from Moda Center. After the ball hit, Angzi's personal score has reached 54 points. If he remembers correctly, Angzi has now tied Leigh Allen's individual. A single game score record, only 1 point away, Angzi can break this record. In addition, Angzi's ball has another significance, that is Angzi's toss helped the 76ers lead the Blazers again. 105-103, the Blazers started the offense, Damian Lillard received the ball in the backcourt, and Angzi was waiting for him directly near the center line. At the critical moment, what really affects the outcome of the game is not offense, but defense. Damian Lillard came to the center line with the ball, Angzi directly wrapped it up. This is the most critical defense. Lead the defense at halftime, Angzi's defense is too aggressive. Lillard was stopped by an 11 on the other side of the center line. The timer was counting down. Lillard was a little anxious. He took a cross step and took a crotch dribble, trying to shake Angzi away. However, Angzi started defending at halftime, and naturally he was defending with confidence, moving a step steadily, and then directly intercepted the ball. After grabbing a bit and not grabbing, Lillard took another cross step, plus a turning motion, squeezing Angzi to cross the sideline. Nicolas Batum had already rushed to the other side of the half-court and was ready to respond, but Lillard was reluctant to admit defeat, and he turned around again, forcibly trying to squeeze Angzi away. Forcibly turned around and gave Angzi a chance. He once again made a steal. Lillard patted the basketball. As the basketball was removed, Angzi snapped the basketball. An 11 jumped, clapped the basketball he grabbed, ran all the way to the front court. No one returned to the defense. Angzi rushed into the three-point line and took off directly from the free throw line. There were several uncontrollable screams from the sidelines. Angzi glided through the air as usual, then hung straight on the basket, making a loud bang. "Free throw line dunk," Charles Barkley exclaimed. "This must be the first of the top 10 goals this week." Enzishin dunks directly from the free throw line after grabbing. "It's too cruel." Kenny Smith also shook his head again and again. This ball fully reflects Angzi's personal ability. 107:103. After an opening error, Angzi scored 4 points in a row. In the scoring book, Angzi's personal score has come to 56 points. He has broken Ray Allen's personal scoring record, but no one will pay attention to these. Except for Angzi himself, Charles Barkley and Kenny Smith are concerned about Angzi energy. Can't increase the score to 60 points. In history, there are only a handful of players who have scored 60 points in a single game in the regular season. Only Kobe Bryant has a 60-plus scoring performance. He has scored a total of 5 times, with a maximum of 81 points and a minimum of 60 points. Charles Barkley upped the data. In addition to the current players, after the league has detailed statistics, after the 1985-1986 season, only Michael Jordan's 460-plus times with a maximum of 69 points, Karl Malone once with 61 points, David Robinson once with 71 points, Shaquille O'Neal once, Tracy McGrady, Allen Iverson, Gilbert Arenas and Tom Chambers once each. Finally, he concluded, after the 1985-1986 season, there are only 9 players who have scored 60-plus points. With Angzi's current scoring progress, he is likely to become the 10th. 60-plus points. Angzi never thought about it, but at this time, Angzi must continue to score because the team needs his score. Damian Lillard continued to take the ball in the backcourt, and Angzi also continued to lead the defense at halftime. But this time, Lillard focused on the overall situation and chose to pass the ball to Batum. After he ran through the half-court empty-handed, Batum passed the ball back. Angzi defends Lillard alone. This goal is still critical, because Angzi's goal is very clear. He wants to end the game as soon as possible. Lillard chose to break through, but Angzi, who was fully defensive, was not so easy to pass. He blocked Lillard and then forced Lillard to choose to pass the ball. After Lillard passed the ball, Batum took over the outside organization of the Blazers. But the situation is still very bad, because the 76ers desperately, everyone is crazy to make up and stick defense. Batum found an opportunity through a breakthrough, but the subsequent jumper failed to hit. Angzi rushed into the interior and grabbed the rebound. The 76ers got the opportunity to further expand the point difference. Perhaps the Blazers predicted that their offense would strike iron in advance from the 76ers' tough defense, so they returned to defense very quickly. Angzi rushed to the front court with the ball. The Blazers had returned to the defense. Wesley Matthews walked around in front of Angzi, raising his hands to interfere with Angzi. Before the Blazers had fully organized the defense, Angzi took a quick step and flashed past Matthews. Batum immediately dropped Evan Turner and made up for it. Angzi also passed the ball immediately, and then cut without the ball. Evan Turner, who received the ball, made a transfer station for the ball. After Angzi's air cut, he passed an advance amount. An 11 in the air cut received the ball and made a direct layup. In the exclamation of the Moda Center, the basketball hit again with a scream. Angzi's personal 58th point. He continued to refresh his personal scoring record, and the score between the 76ers and the Trail Blazers also became 109-103, 6 points behind made the Trail Blazers a little impatient. There was a cheering voice at Moda Center, and the Blazers still did not give up, but the 76ers have already played a high-intensity offensive and defensive. Lillard broke through the Angzi defense with the help of screens, and rushed into the interior to be covered by Cole. Aldridge slapped him. "Fan it down." Then, the Blazers served from the touchline, and Lillard made a three-pointer and missed. As mentioned earlier, the 76ers played excellent defense. Angzi and Jack Lauder together blocked the Blazers' outside attack. Tries Totes stood on the sidelines. He was about to make a timeout. But the ball is in the hands of the 76ers, and he can only wait for one more offensive round. So, taking advantage of this time, Tries Totes stood on the sidelines and shouted, "Defensive attack." Angzi rushed from the backcourt to the front court with the ball. He naturally heard Tristotes' shout, but Angzi did not stop and rushed to the front court. Before Wesley Matthews came up, "Go straight. Buy a three-pointer." If a three-pointer hits, then Angzi's personal score will exceed 60 points to 61 points. Charles Barkley and Kenny Smith raised their necks. And if a three-pointer hits, the 76ers lead will also reach 9 points, so the Blazers fans also raised their necks. With a scream, the basketball pierced the net and made it. Angzi raised his hand and stood quietly on the court. A three-pointer. Angzi's 61st point in the game. At this moment, he surpassed everyone. Including LeBron James. Charles Barkley sent a tit-for-tat commentary. Angzi scored 61 points. Only Kobe is currently active. Did it? LeBron James did not do it. Why do American radical fans think that Angzi is not worthy of the throne of the Vote King? 61 points are Angzi's best response, but then Angzi's scoring has not stopped. The 76ers made a 9-0 attack wave, and then the Blazers called a timeout and changed the tactical focus. After the timeout came back, Aldridge made a mid-range shot and finally scored. However, this mid-range shot did not complete the life extension for the Blazers. An 11 turned his head back and made another fallback jumper, and then used a three-pointer to further expand the score. With the last 2 minutes left in the game, the 76ers had 14 points ahead of the Trail Blazers. They played another 11-4 offensive wave, and then ended the suspense of the game. At the end of the game, the 76ers played consecutive offensive waves. A wave ended the game. Angzi's personal scoring is also frozen, 66 points. He spent 45 shots, hit 27 goals, a 60% shooting rate, plus 6 rebounds, 7 assists, 5 steals, and 2 blocks. Angzi hit the best in his career. An outstanding game. In the last 2 minutes, the Blazers were also unwilling to fight. Together with the 76ers, they replaced the main force. In the end, the game ended. The 76ers beat the Trail Blazers by 129-118, 11 points advantage, and achieved another wave of 6 consecutive victories. After this 6-game winning streak, the 76ers record became 22 wins and 11 losses, surpassing the Hawks who just lost in Indiana and becoming the third in the East. It can be said that the victory of this game gave the 76ers and Angzi a lot, and when the buzzer of the final timer rang, Angzi threw up the towel, and the team's press officer quickly walked to the side of Angzi and arranged a few airs. Sentence. After the game, Angzi will be interviewed by Doris Burke again. Doris Burke's post-match interview. The interview that held Angzi before the game went smoother because Angzi won. Feel comfortable. And, you won this game, a beautiful victory. How do you feel? It feels great. Not only did we win the game, but we also won everything. And 11 said otherwise, and Doris Burke did not hear it. Anyway, and 11 didn't say it to her. You scored 66 points in this game, the 8th highest scoring player in league history. The players ahead of you are Wilt Chamberlain, Kobe Bryant, David Thompson, Elgin Baylor, and David Robinson, Michael Jordan, and Pete Maravich are all legendary players in the NBA. Do you think you have achieved what they did? An 11 raised his eyebrows. He wanted to say something. In fact, he was already arrogant. But this is not Angzi's character. So after thinking about it, an 11 replied, I think I will. My goal is the same, not only to achieve their achievements, but more importantly, to surpass them. Doris Burke nodded, then asked the last question. You won this game and scored 66 points. Do you think you deserve the honor of being the champion? Doris Burke's idea is very simple. After this game, everything should be over. An 11 had the same idea. After listening to Doris Burke's words, an 11 nodded, of course, without any hesitation. To be continued. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 415. We played very well, played the offense we wanted, and more importantly, at the most critical moment, we played our strongest defense. The Blazers have worked very hard and they are behind a whole game. And then tied the score in the last quarter, but I'm sorry that they met an 11. This magical guy changed the game. From the beginning of the game, he scored consecutively, and scored consecutive points in the first quarter. He scored 26 points, 9 points in the second quarter, 17 points in the third quarter, and 14 points in the last quarter. He kept scoring throughout the game. The Blazers used a double-double team, but Angzi seems to be unable to defend. Maybe he is not the best player in the league, but he must be one of the league's strongest scorers. At the press conference after the game, Brett Brown praised Angzi very much. He almost blew it from various angles, and the Angzi Vote King incident, also because of the 66 points, gradually died down. If there are any more fans questioning Angzi fans can solve the doubt in one sentence. LeBron James wants to vote for the throne? Did he get a 61st? The biggest beneficiary of this Ticket King event is not Angzi nor LeBron James, nor is it the fans of the two, but William Hunter. The game was over. The white guy was dressing up in his rental house, putting on a suit, shaved his beard, and even dusted his face, then picked up a phone call, nodded and talked. Mr. Stanley, it's me, William Hunter. Yes, I know, the 76ers won, and the yellow-skinned monkey also scored 66 points, but who cares? He won, but I also gained a certain number of fans, right? Mr. Stanley on the other end of the phone didn't know what he said. William Hunter nodded repeatedly, and then continued, is it Anti-Security Vanguard? No problem, as long as you Sports Illustrated are willing to give me a position as an official reporter. After a while, William Hunt hung up the phone, then dialed again, booked a flight to New York the next afternoon, and he was going to perform his duties. After the call, the person in William Hunter went out like a dog. Angzi's 66 points detonated major domestic forums, 66 points, a new record for the Chinese in the NBA, a record comparable to a legendary NBA star. And Daxia rioted at the Moda Academy, and he defeated all doubts with 66 points. Hyopu Sports. A new record of 66 points, Angzi conquered the Americans in the first battle. Tencent Sports. Angzi scored 66 points, setting a new personal record. CCTV News. Discussions about Angzi's 66 points, Hyopu, Taiba, and Tencent communities can be seen everywhere. Angzi's 66 points have sparked heated discussions in China comparable to Kobe's 81 points. But Angzi couldn't take care of this anymore. He returned to the hotel and the single room where Angzi lived. He closed the door tightly, let out a deep breath, and then entered the system interface. This time, the system was upgraded very quickly. When Angzi returned to the hotel, the upgrade had been completed, and it was only waiting for Angzi to determine the content of the upgrade. Angzi's existing upgrades include, 3-point attribute bonus 90, CIC attribute bonus 85, single defense attribute bonus 99, steal attribute bonus 95, off-ball attribute bonus 70, back attribute bonus 80, ball attribute bonus 83, emergency stop jumper attribute bonus 70, breakthrough attribute bonus 60, backward jumper attribute bonus 99, low post attribute bonus 70, pass attribute bonus 65. And now Angzi has more attributes available for upgrade. Jeff Hornacek's off-ball attribute bonus is 85, Tony Parker's emergency stop jumper attribute bonus is 87, and Kawhi's passing attribute bonus is 81. The back attribute bonus from Hakeem Olajuwon is 90, the low attribute bonus from Hakeem Olajuwon is 90, and the breakthrough attribute bonus from Allen Iverson is 96. There are many choices, which makes Angzi hesitate even more. Originally Angzi was hesitating, should he insist on scoring, or should he turn to all-around, playing a large-scale play style. Mike Budenholzer let Angzi develop in the all-around direction, but Jeff Hornacek suggested Angzi insisted on scoring, and Angzi didn't know how to choose. After thinking about it carefully, Angzi took out his mobile phone. Looking in a row of contacts. Angzi has a lot of people's calls: Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith, Magic Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, LeBron James, and even Michael Jordan's calls, Angzi has. But at this moment, he didn't know who to call. What Angzi needs now is the advice given to him by the old NBA seniors, so Angzi's hand drew on Michael Jordan's name, but in the end he couldn't make up his mind to dial the number. But soon, the phone rang by itself, and the music that "We Are Champions" rang. Angzi glanced at the caller ID, LeBron James. LeBron James would actually call himself. Angzi frowned, he didn't even expect it. But Angzi still got on the phone, and after a trembling on the other end of the phone, James' voice immediately rang. Angzi. This is LeBron James. Hearing James' voice, Angzi suddenly remembered an anecdote. It is said that when James joined the Heat, in order to recruit free agents, he sent a text message to a player, calling himself King James in the text message, but now, James clearly I learned a lesson and I'm not so selfish anymore. Hello, LeBron. And, I'm sorry, I don't want to fight about the ticket king. I'm sorry that the media hype and the questioning of radical fans have caused some trouble. When Angzi heard this, he immediately understood that LeBron James came to apologize. Although this incident was not caused by LeBron James, it has something to do with him. After the transfer to the Heat, after successive failures, LeBron James he has also become mature. He likes to do everything seamlessly, showing a perfect and high emotional intelligence image to the outside world. And this call is also a way for him to package this image. An 11 nodded and didn't care. LeBron, you don't need to apologize. I don't care about the king of votes. The two of them just said that it didn't matter, whether they thought so in their hearts, I don't know. At least Angzi cares about the Vote King incident very much, and what LeBron James thinks, Angzi doesn't know. Thinking of the Ticket King incident, Angzi remembered the upgrade. LeBron James is also an old predecessor. Angzi thinks that maybe he can get some advice from James. LeBron, can I ask you a question? LeBron James was just about to hang up the phone. At this moment, Angzi stopped him for a while. He didn't think much, and he readily agreed, no problem, you can ask. N. Personal scoring and helping teammates score, how would you choose? LeBron James froze for a moment. He felt that Angzi's question was inexplicable and even a little esoteric. Of course, the question was not difficult to answer. LeBron James didn't want to think too much, and gave his answer directly, of course it's help teammates score. Why? Angzi asked immediately. Because one person cannot beat a team, especially a team with superior strength, such as the San Antonio Spurs, and the Los Angeles Lakers back then, so you need teammates, you need your teammates to stand up, and if your teammates want to stand up, they need your help. Use your offense to attract the defense, and then pass the ball to help your teammate score. Hanging up the phone, Angie was silent. He felt that LeBron James made a lot of sense and he should choose to upgrade his pass. So, the big hand clicked, white light flashed, Angie's passing escalated. Perhaps after a few years, or even a few months, Angie will discover that his idea of seeking advice from the basketball veterans was a complete mistake. LeBron James passed the ball first, so he let Angie choose to pass the ball. And if Angie calls Kobe, Kobe may say, go to his mother's teammate. Give me the ball. I can beat a team by myself, then Angie may choose without hesitation. Score, upgrade and breakthrough. Of course, it's not that Angie's choice was wrong, but Angie's reason to convince himself was wrong, because different players will give different answers. It takes time to test whether Angie chooses to pass the ball correctly. After this upgrade, Angie's system attribute bonus achievement has become, 3-point attribute bonus 90, CIC attribute bonus 85, single defense attribute bonus 99, steal attribute bonus 95, no ball attribute bonus 70, back attribute bonus 80, ball possession attribute bonus 83, emergency stop jumper attribute bonus 70, breakthrough attribute bonus 60, backward jumper attribute bonus 99, low post attribute bonus 70, pass attribute bonus 81. He became more versatile. And this was quickly verified. On January 6, 2014, the men challenged the Minnesota Timberwolves away. In the cold Timberwolves, the 76ers finally lost the game. They lost to 12 records jointly cut by Kevin Love and Kevin Martin. 3 points, but Angie's performance is still outstanding, played 36 minutes in the game, scored 27 points, 4 rebounds, 10 assists and 3 steals, and got a double-double. It's only a little short of Ray Allen's assist record. This also gave Angie an idea. After upgrading his pass, he can hit Ray Allen's assist record, and by the way, he will also upgrade his breakthrough attributes. However, Ray Allen has a record of 13 assists, and Angie has to reach 14 to be broken, so it is not that good. In the last game of the 76ers road trip, they returned to the East and challenged the Cleveland Cavaliers back-to-back. Angie scored 24 points, 4 rebounds and 11 assists. It was just one step away from Ray Allen's assist record. The 76ers won the game. They won 111-93 on the road, but this series of road trips still exhausted the 76ers. Once they returned to Philadelphia, they had a vacation. To be continued. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen-San Buletinji. Chapter 416. It's a holiday, but Angie can't be free. Upward Arrow Novels. Abby also returned to Philadelphia from Phoenix, so the man-made project began again. But the next day, Evo Clark came to the door for the shoe contract. Li Ning's contract has been negotiated a long time ago. The new contract is 400 million yuan in 10 years, which happens to overwhelm Kevin Durant. Durant has just renewed his contract with Nike. It costs $3.5 billion in 10 years and Angie 400 million yuan in 10 years. There was a tit for tat, but Angie was dissatisfied with the number of years. After 10 years, 10 years later, Angie was almost at the age of retirement. There are many articles on sneaker contracts, such as lifetime contracts. For example, like Michael Jordan, with the help of Nike, create a personal brand. Angie's idea is very simple. His career has only been a few years since the beginning of his career. Because of the existence of the system, there are unlimited possibilities in the future. Therefore, Angie feels that he can sign a short contract first and seek a personal brand contract in the future, or at least like Brown James, sign a lifetime contract. This time, Evo Clark brought a new offer for sneakers. Li Ning was unwilling to reduce the number of years, and Under Armour, who was continuing to expand, gave Angzi a new offer. And Li Ning is unwilling to reduce the number of years. Now Under Armour has also contacted him. The price is 100 million in 5 years. The price is much lower than that of Li Ning. Evo Clark cut the apple on his own, and then spoke quite seriously. Business. Angzi frowned. Under Armour's offer was indeed a lot less than that of Li Ning. Li Ning's price was 400 million in 10 years, with an annual average of 40 million, while Under Armour's quotation was only $20 million per year. The price has doubled, but the lifespan has also doubled. What about the specific conditions? Angzi asked casually. Li Ning's specific conditions. Angzi knew that customized sneakers and customized personal logos all have the standards that a star should have. The same, custom sneakers, custom personal logos. N11 nodded. It is difficult to choose, but fortunately, half a year before the contract expires, the staff who want to come to Jordan Sports are coming soon. So Angzi directly replied, let's put the quotation first, and then wait. Evo Clark nodded. Angzi meant that it was going to be sold. The current Angzi also has this capital. The ticket king of the first stage of the All-Star, sitting behind the vast Chinese market, is handsome and has good skills, packaging, at least the second Kobe or James. If the competition goes further, Angzi will even be in business. Able to reach the point of Jordan. After talking about the sneaker contract, Evo Clark showed Angzi several advertising endorsement offers, which are the results of the last Christmas dinner. Both Huawei mobile phones and mobile communications provided Angzi with an endorsement contract offer. Huawei is a domestic company. The leader of mobile phone manufacturers, while China Mobile is a state-owned enterprise. The quotations of the two companies are not low, basically millions. Angzi naturally did not hesitate and signed these two contracts. Then, Evo Clark mentioned the new personal trainer. The new personal trainer is not easy to find. Angzi knows it too. Mike Procpio and Tony Brown have been away for so long. Can help Angzi find a new trainer. But recently there was some news that Evo Clark proposed two candidates, both of whom he contacted recently. Recently I contacted two trainers, but none of them are professional, and they are only willing to do short-term work. N11 nodded and motioned to Evo Clark to continue. One is Cannon Baker, you should know. Angzi nodded again. Cannon Baker naturally knew that the most famous free trainer in the United States had trained many big-name players. In the absence of a long-term trainer, Cannon Baker could indeed be considered. The other one came from various sources, Mark Eaton. Mark Eaton, Angzi was a little surprised. Mark Eaton naturally knew that the former block king of the league retired in 1993. He was a helper by the Jazz Shuangxia before, and his reputation in the United States is not bad. Yes, Mark Eaton, it is said that he went into business after retiring, but the business lost. Now he intends to come back as a trainer or assistant coach, but it is said that he is more inclined to become a trainer. N11 nodded quite understandingly. In the short term, the money will come quickly and he will naturally be a trainer. Moreover, at the age of Mark Eaton, it is indeed a bit late to be an assistant coach now. He is almost 60 years old. But Angzi was still a little skeptical. What can he teach? Evo Clark gave a wry smile. The most important point is here. What can Mark Eaton teach? Such an inside high center forward doesn't have much offensive ability, and it is definitely not technically good. After thinking about it carefully, it seems that he has only blocked shots. Block, right. Angzi frowned, thought a little, and then nodded. He agreed. Angzi thought for a while. He felt that Mark Eaton's blocks, rebounds and defenses were all he could learn. Anyway, it was only a short-term training. Angzi only wanted to enrich himself and make himself more versatile. Talk to him, and you can talk to Cannon Baker, both together. Evo Clark understands that if only Mark Eaton is found, Angzi can only learn to defend and block shots, but Angzi's offensive training can't be lost, so the two are together. But whether the two will work together, this obviously needs to be discussed by Evo Clark. Evo Clark went to talk about the personal trainer, and Angzi's vacation was all contributed to the commercial shooting. China Life wanted to shoot a new commercial, so it specially found the shooting team and came to the United States to shoot nearby. So on the morning of the holiday, Angzi hurried to shoot the advertisement. Fortunately, the requirements were not high, and they were basically repeated. After the filming, Angzi felt that he could finally rest for a while, but Samsinki made another call, and he had to set off again and drove to the 76ers headquarters. Angzi knocked on Samsinki's office, but after opening the door, Angzi found that it was not only Samsinki but also Josh Harris. The little boss of the team was smoking a cigarette and saw Angzi enter the door. After saying hello, he quickly pinched the cigarette. "And, don't you smoke?" Angzi shook his head, and sat on the other side of the sofa under Samsinki's sign. "It's good if you don't smoke. Athletes are better not to smoke." Angzi smiled, he probably understood why Samsinki called himself here. Samsinki didn't speak, and Josh Harris slowly began to say, "And, seriously, when Brett said that he must sign you, I really didn't expect you to grow to where you are now." Josh Harris continued, "At the time, I just felt that a Chinese player played well in the finals and did have the value of signing, especially in business. But now it seems that I underestimated you and played well. And, I think you will become the next Michael Jordan, or even surpass him." Angzi smiled, "Thank you." Josh Harris stood up, and, "I have to fulfill my promise. I have already told Sam that you now have the right to transfer the team. You can make suggestions like Sam, and Sam will follow suit. Your thoughts? Do your best to trade." Angzi nodded. In January 2014, Josh Harris promised that Angzi's transfer rights were honored in advance, and Angzi said thank you again, but Angzi was still a little worried about Samsinki. He felt that Samsinki is the general manager of the team, and Angzi's transfer right is equivalent to grabbing Samsinki's rights. But turning to look at Samsinki, Angzi found that Samsinki didn't have any special expressions. Instead, Samsinki looked at an 11 very seriously, and, "If you have anything to trade, you can come to me directly." Josh Harris stood aside and added another sentence, "Sam, I hope that within 3 years, you can give the team the strength to compete for the championship. Of course, you must build a team around Angzi." Understood. Samsinki naturally agreed. After saying this, Josh Harris raised his hand and glanced at his watch. "Okay, I have to catch a plane next, and, I'll leave it to you and Sam here. You guys have a good chat and try to get the team be competitive immediately." Then Josh Harris left. Only Angzi and Samsinki are left in the office. Angzi touched his nose, slightly embarrassed, and finally Samsinki spoke first and opened his silence. "And, do you have any thoughts on the team's current lineup?" Samsinki looked at Angzi and asked this question. Angzi thought about it. There are indeed some problems with the current team's lineup, especially after Angzi has upgraded his pass. Next, he must play a large-scale game, but there are few shooters in the team. But there are too many players, it is best to be able to change. In addition, the hardness of the interior is not enough. The main rotations Spencer Hawes and Byron Mullins are shooting-type interiors. The 76ers' poor defense is also related to this. After thinking about it, an 11 said slowly, "I think the team needs more shooters. In addition, we need some tough and energetic insiders." An 11 said very vaguely. He knew that this was the first time he made his request after he got the right to transfer. The specific naming of a certain player might actually make Samsinki have a rebellious mentality. He simply delineated a range and let it is better for Samsinki to find it by himself. Samsinki is indeed satisfied with Angzi's answer. Angzi just made a suggestion that he must complete the search for players and even the transaction. So Samsinki nodded, no problem, and, are there any players in the team that are not tradable? You can also talk about it. An untradable player, Angzi thought for a while and said, Jack Lauder, the others are gone. Angzi only mentioned one Jack Lauder, Mkaway, and even Evan Turner did not mention it. In fact, Angzi had thought about it. Then he wanted to grab offense and defense. Evan Turner and Mkaway were destined to be hard to get a change. There are more opportunities, it is better to send them away with a deal and let them go to other teams to get better development. Samsinki nodded, he already had some concrete ideas. To be continued. Search for on Baidu to see the latest and most complete novels. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Role Player. Author, Yuan-san Buletinji. Chapter 418. On January 10, 2014, the 76ers sat at home to meet the challenges of the Pistons. After a series of road trips, the 76ers were finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. At home, in the cheers of the fans, the 76ers defeated the Pistons 119-104 and won 2 consecutive victories. Angzi scored 25 points, 4 rebounds, 9 assists and 5 steals in the game. Although Andre Drummond scored a large double-double with 23 points and 22 rebounds, his teammates performed very poorly. Under Angzi's defense, Josh Smith made only 3 of 17 shots, plus 10 shots. Brandon Jennings of 1 and Caldwell Pope of 7 of 23 shots. The Pistons lost on their offense. The former Eagle King Josh Smith was struggling. It is said that the Pistons have cut his stop-loss planned. A day later, the 76ers continued to play against the Knicks at home. The Knicks just got out of the quagmire of the Eastern Conference. They broke out with great resilience and fighting spirit in this game. The two teams played until the end of the fourth quarter, and the Knicks took the lead. 5 points, the 76ers foul tactics in the end, but they are unable to recover. In the end, the 76ers lost to the Knicks 101-108, 2 consecutive victories ended, the team record became 24 wins and 13 losses, the 76ers continue to rank 3rd in the East. The Eagles, which could have been able to compete with the 76ers, have recently entered a bottleneck period. They have lost consecutive games and have fallen to 5th in the East. The 4th in the East was taken by the Bulls, who came from behind. However, behind the Eagles, Rudy Gay was sent away. The Raptors, which have played a wave of victories, are also in hot pursuit. As time enters 2014, the situation in the East has become fierce. Fortunately, the position of the 76ers is still stable. Next, you only need to do yourself. The top 4 positions in the East are worry-free. On January 15, the 76ers played against the Bobcats. The Bobcats performed well this season. They still retain the hope of competing for the Eastern Conference playoff qualification. Kemba Walker and Al Jefferson supported the team, but facing the 76ers, the Bobcats still lost. At 100-88, the Bobcats lost 12 points, Angzi scored 27 points, 6 rebounds and 8 assists, and personally gave his former college teammates a defeat. 2 days later, the 76ers set foot on the land of Chicago. In the United Center, the 76ers lost again, 78-103. Angzi performed poorly, but he was still the team's best performer, scoring 20 points and 5 points in the game. He had 6 rebounds and 4 steals, but his shooting percentage was a bit bleak. He made only 7 of his 19 shots, and his shooting percentage was only 37. Lost again, still lost to the Eastern Conference, the the 76ers were a bit irritable. Several consecutive Eastern infights, the 76ers lost, they lost to the Knicks, lost to the Bulls. The record has also become 25 wins and 15 losses. The Bulls and Raptors behind the 76ers gradually caught up, while the Eagles began to fall behind. Now, they are already 6th in the East. The playoffs in the East suddenly became fierce. 11 of the 15 teams competed for the playoffs, and these 11 teams were divided into 3 levels. The first level is the best record in the East. Pacers and Heat. The Pacers are currently 31 wins and 7 losses, continue to rank first in the East, while the Heat 28 wins and 11 losses, rank second in the East, and the 76ers can barely squeeze into this level. Their record is 25 wins and 15 lost, 3.5 games behind the Heat. The Bulls, Raptors, and Eagles are the second level, and their records are all around 20 wins and 50 win rates. Then there are the Wizards, Nets, Hornets, Knicks, and Cavaliers competing for the remaining 2 seats. Of course, just halfway through the season, the playoff situation in the East is not easy to say. The Sixers' top 4 are worry-free, but the Bulls, Raptors, and the Hawks' top 6 is hard to say. They are likely to decline at any time, and the Wizards' Nets also have the opportunity to go further. Soon, on January 24, 2014, the Knicks broke out first, or Carmelo Anthony broke out. In the New York Knicks game against the Charlotte Bobcats, Carmelo Anthony broke out. In this game between direct rivals in the Eastern Conference playoffs, Carmelo Anthony was in form from the beginning. In the first quarter, he fired continuously from outside, hit 8 goals in 10 shots and scored 20 points. No one noticed. To the same, because Anthony broke out in a single quarter is not uncommon. But then, in the second quarter, Anthony continued to play, making 7 of 11 shots and scoring 17 points. After halftime, Anthony scored 37 points and led the Knicks to lead the Bobcats by 21 points. An ambitious victory was about to be won by the Knicks. Sri Lanka was in the bag. Mike Woodson chose to keep up and let Anthony continue to play in the third quarter. Then in the third quarter, Carmelo Anthony scored another 19 points, raising his single game scoring to 56 points, and there was a whole quarter left in the game. People began to think of the game where Anzi scored 66 points not long ago. Anzi scored 52 points in 3 quarters. However, the game was very fierce and the winner was not determined until the end of the fourth quarter. On the Knicks side, the third quarter. After that, they have been ahead of the Hornets by 35 points, so now it's up to Anthony if he can pull his face down and score points. At this time, LeBron James, who was participating in an event in Miami, learned of this, and he sent a tweet, "I am participating in an event. I heard that Anthony has scored more than 50 points in 3 quarters. Then, he also called on Mike Woodson to let Anthony continue to play. As a result, at the beginning of the fourth quarter, Anthony really continued to play. After 6 minutes of playing, Anthony's physical fitness began to decline. He made only 1 of 5 shots in the last quarter. He scored 6 points on free throws and then improved his scoring to 62 points. Subsequently, Mike Woodson replaced Anthony. As a result, Carmelo Anthony's scoring was frozen, 62 points, creating a career high, 62 points and 13 rebounds in the game, in addition to a foul, in addition to the other data are 0. At the end of the game, LeBron James continued to tweet on Twitter. It was a pity for Anthony. He thought that Anthony could get more points. Anzi, who had finished training, was also stopped by reporters and asked this question. Anthony scored 62 points. And 11 was naturally concerned. When the reporter asked this question, and 11 also talked about his views. Mero is a strong scorer, he has the ability to score 62 points or more. Anthony scored 62 points, but not long ago, Anzi scored 66 points. In comparison between the two sides, Anthony, who only took 35 shots, seems to be more efficient, but in fact Anthony's shooting percentage is 54.5, which is lower than Angzi's 60. To a point, the reason why Anthony can get more points with fewer shots depends on free throws and more three-pointers. Carmelo Anthony's 62 points made the NBA excited for a while. During this time, the 76ers continued to win and lose. The game went on to the end of January, and Angzi was waiting for the friendship, and finally there was some news. Samsinki notified Angzi in advance. He told Angzi that the team will have an offer, and if Angzi disagrees, the offer will be cancelled immediately. Spencer Hawes went to the Cavaliers in exchange for 2 future second-round picks. An 11th round, just 2 second-round picks. Samsinki nodded. Yes, Spencer has played for half a season, and has always been a substitute. Although he can still average 10 points and 6 rebounds per game, the value of contact is not so great anymore. If there are just 2 second-round picks, there is no need to talk about it, and 11 couldn't help but questioned. Spencer Hawes still has tactical value. As a center who can shoot 3 points, if only 2 for the second round, it's better to keep it. Samsinki let out a wry smile, and Spencer's offer involves the next offer. Can you talk about the next deal? Samsinki nodded. I have already negotiated with the Lakers. Thaddeus Younga has 2 second-round picks for Pau Gasol. Now only wait for these 2 second-round picks to get in place. It can be done. Thank you. Paul Gasol. Angzi was taken aback. If he can really win Pau Gasol, Angzi will have the confidence to take the team further. After all, Pau Gasol is also considered an all-star player, although he has been struggling with the Lakers this season and played all the time. There is no guarantee, and he has been deeply involved in rumors, but Angzi understands that what a player like Pau Gasol lacks is a good environment. If he changes his team, he can make a contribution immediately. Just like when Pau Gasol transferred from the Grizzlies to the Lakers, after the transfer, the team's combat effectiveness was immediately improved. Hearing that the team is interested in Pau Gasol, and when the agreement is basically settled, Angzi can only nod his head and a strong support is coming. Angzi happily awaited the final completion of Pau Gasol's friendship. LeBron James also broke out. In a game at the end of January, the Charlotte Bobcats still became the background. LeBron James scored 11 points in the first quarter, and the Heat also led the Bobcats. Then, in the second quarter, James scored another 13 points, and the Heat continued to expand their lead. After halftime, they led the Bobcats by 6 points. In the third quarter, LeBron James broke out. He scored 5 three-pointers in a row, scored 25 points in the third quarter, and added 24 points in the first half. After 3 quarters, James scored 49 points. But at this time, the Heat have also led the Bobcats by 21 points. Everyone is discussing whether James will continue to play. LeBron James resolutely played. In the opening game of the fourth quarter, a mid-range shot was made and the score exceeded 50 points. Then, with 5 minutes and 46 seconds left in the fourth quarter, LeBron James scored 6 points, breaking the personal record for scoring in a single game. At this time, the Heat still maintained a 17-point lead. LeBron James still did not leave, and he continued to score with 57 points. 2 consecutive three-pointers hit the iron. LeBron James did not leave, and the Heat's lead was therefore reduced. Until the end of the game, LeBron James hit 2 points, followed by a foul that caused Kemba Walker, scored 4 points in 2 free throws, and scored a breakthrough of 60 points to 61 points. At this time, the Heat led the Bobcats by 16 points, with 1 minute and 35 seconds left in the game. The game has completely lost suspense. The Heat continuously replaced LeBron James. As a result, when the game was about to end, LeBron James' scoring was frozen, 61 points, and he also completed a 60 scoring performance. To be continued. Friends of, you can search for, you can find this site for the first time. Enable new URL. Super Role Player. Author, Yuan-san Buletinji. Chapter 419. Explosion. Since January, the league has performed 3 consecutive 60-plus points, Angzi 66 points, Carmelo Anthony 62 points, and LeBron James 61 points. Thus, the comparison arises. Angzi scored 66 points, used 45 shots, and shot 60%, Carmelo Anthony had 62 points, used 35 shots, and shot 54.5%, LeBron James scored 61 points, used 33 shots, and hit the rate is 66.7%. Therefore, William Hunt, who just joined Sports Illustrated, said in a new personal column, it took Angzi 45 shots to score 66 points, Carmelo Anthony only took 35 shots, and LeBron James only took 33 shots. Obviously Anthony and James are more efficient compared with them. Angzi's 66 points are piled up with shot rights. Having said so much, William Hunt only wants to prove one point: Angzi is not worthy of the throne of Vote King. At this moment, on February 1, 2014, the final results of the All-Star voting were announced. After 2 rounds of voting, LeBron James received 1,416,419 votes, but he was still second in the All-Star vote. The first is naturally Angzi. His final vote was 2,358,578. In the second round of voting, Angzi received another 1.64 million votes, which directly crushed LeBron James. After 2 rounds of voting, Angzi was ahead of James by 940,000 votes. 940,000 votes, the advantage is quite huge. You know, the Eastern backcourt players voted first. Wade, the total number of votes is only 930,000 votes. North America became lively again. Originally, Angzi used a 66 point to shut everyone up. After all, that was a feat that LeBron James did not achieve. But now, LeBron James has also scored 61 points, although it is less than 66 points. 5 points, but LeBron James is more efficient, he only used 33 shots. Angzi obviously doesn't deserve to have so many votes. Without the support of the state behind him, Angzi would only be a fool with nothing. William Hunt continued to rant on his Twitter, and then attracted the support of many North American radical fans. On February 1, 2014, the 76ers continued their regular season journey and challenged the Pistons on the away game. Faced with the reporters' suspicion from Twitter, Angzi was also on fire. The clay figurines also have 3 points of fire, not to mention Angzi. Questions about American radical fans. I remember we had a direct duel with the Heat before the All-Star weekend. The result of that game will tell everything. Angzi once again pushed himself to the forefront. Just 5 days later, the 76ers played against the Heat. After playing the Pistons, the 76ers will have an away game against the Nets. Then they will go to Miami to challenge the Heat. Angzi's these words made the game between the 76ers and the Heat become more important. And Angzi, who played the game with the 76ers and the Pistons with anger, scored 33 points, 6 rebounds and 11 assists, giving the Pistons another defeat. Then, 2 days later, in Brooklyn, Angzi scored 28 points, 3 rebounds and 8 assists, leading the team to another victory. Then, on February 5, there was a battle between the 76ers and the Heat. Before the Heat, the 76ers' record after the second half of January became 31 wins and 18 losses, continuing to rank third in the East, fourth in the East Raptors 26 wins and 22 losses, fifth Bulls 24. With 24 wins, there is still a long way to go from the 76ers. However, the distance between the 76ers and the Heat is also very long. As of February 5, the Heat's record has become 34 wins and 13 losses, winning 3 games more than the 76ers, losing 5 games, and leading the 76ers by 4. Victory. Turner Sports temporarily adjusted the number of live broadcasts in the United States. The 76ers have only 2 live broadcasts in the United States this season. However, because of the arrival of Anxi, the 76ers record has improved rapidly, and Turner Sports has to continuously adjust the number of live broadcasts of the 76ers. The 76ers can't let go of the Heat's highlight. Before the game, a reporter summarized the state of the two teams before the game. Before the Heat, the 76ers won a wave of 3 consecutive victories, beating the Hawks, Pistons, and Nets one after another. They are in good condition, especially Anxi, who averaged in the past 3 games 28.7 points, 4.7 rebounds, 9.7 assists, 3.3 steals and 1.0 blocks, in a hot state. The Heat state is a bit awful. After LeBron James scored 61 points, the Heat played 2 more games, one losing to the Rockets by 3 points, and another big defeat to the Spurs. In these 2 games, James performed mediocre. In a game of 9 of 18 shots, he barely maintained a 50% shooting rate, scored 22 points, 6 assists and 3 steals. In the game against the Spurs, LeBron James played in Kawhi. Leonard's defensive performance was even worse. He made 6 of 18 shots and only scored 19 points, 8 rebounds and 7 assists, but there were 5 turnovers. However, even if the Heat are not in good shape, the media are more optimistic about the Heat winning, because after the Spurs, the Heat got a 2-day break. After the 2-game losing streak, the Heat will obviously not continue to lose, and the 2-day adjustment time it will make the Heat get back to their state. With the strength of the Big Three, Anxi is still very difficult to resist. However, the Philadelphia media has put forward a novel point of view. They believe that the Heat's poor state is because LeBron James forcibly scored 61 points. After the 61-point game, LeBron James has been in poor form continuously, and his performance with the Rockets is still normal. However, strictly speaking, James's strength is definitely more than that, with 22 points and only 6 assists. The team he couldn't stand up even after losing, he was obviously tired. Then playing with the Spurs revealed this point. The shooting percentage of 6 from the field is a data that LeBron James has hardly appeared in the past few seasons. Although there are 7 assists, there are also 5 turnovers. The overall performance is terrible. Therefore, the local media in Philadelphia is optimistic that LeBron James will continue to be in a downturn, and this will also give the 76ers a chance to win. Although I don't want to admit it, the fact is that the strength of the Big Three is stronger than the 76ers. If you play a real game, the Heat are more likely to win. But now the situation is obvious. After forcibly scoring 61 points, LeBron James can no longer find his feel and state. Before hitting the Heat, the Spencer Hawes transaction was completed. The 7-foot white man left Philadelphia. Anxi and the others sent Spencer Hawes away at the airport, and then boarded the special plane to Miami. The Spencer Hawes trade was the same as the original. The 76ers got 2 second-round picks from the Cavaliers, and the Pau Gasol trade was officially launched. The 76ers flew to Miami. At that time, Sam Hinkie also took his transfer team and flew to Los Angeles. To be continued. Enable new URL. Super Role Player. Author, Yuan-San Buletinji. Chapter 420. American Airlines Arena, home of the Heat. The 76ers had arrived early. The airport bus stopped on the first floor of the arena. The players got off the bus one after another and walked towards the visiting team's locker room with their luggage. Anxi was the last to get off the bus and took the luggage under the bus. Anxi walked slowly behind everyone, and soon, as expected, the reporters waiting in the passage surrounded him. Reporters from ESPN, Reporters from the Florida Express-Times, and reporters from Sports Illustrated and Yahoo Sports all surrounded Angzi. Angzi was willing to answer a few questions, but the team press officer behind him quickly ran over and stopped a few reporters. They argued while walking, and then reached an agreement at the gate of the visiting team's locker room, allowing only 3 questions. The problem is because Angzi still has to do some physical therapy to prepare before the game. So a few reporters discussed it, and the Florida Express-Times reporter was excluded. The ESPN reporter first asked, "And, predict the outcome of this game?" And 11 nodded, with no strange expression, and calmly answered the question, "We will win the final match in this game." The reporter from the Florida Express-Times was anxious, but there was no way he was excluded, so he could only look at the other side. The reporter from Sports Illustrated asked, "What if you lose?" Angzi squinted his eyes. He knew that the most fierce one on social networking sites seemed to be a reporter from Sports Illustrated. The issue of Sports Illustrated meant a bit of digging a hole for Angzi. Angzi did not hesitate, and said directly, "If there is no if, only the Philadelphia 76ers will win." Then, Angzi did not give the Sports Illustrated reporter any more chances, and looked directly at the Yahoo Sports reporter. "The last question." The Yahoo Sports reporter nodded. "You are already in the All-Star game. Make a prediction for yourself. For the first All-Star game in your career, how many points can you score?" 1 point, and 11 smiled, and then dropped an inexplicable answer, 1 point? How to take it? Did you make 2 free throws after fouling? Angzi pushed the door into the visiting team's locker room. Brett Brown was already holding a tactical board, ready to lay out the tactics of this game. And 11 didn't go to her position, but walked to Brett Brown's side and discussed it with her ears. "Brett, let me play the 3rd position in this game." "Position 3? Do you want to counter LBJ?" "Yes, leave LeBron James to me and I will give you a victory." Brett Brown tilted his head and thought about it. If Angzi was allowed to go to the 3rd position, his original tactical arrangement would be overturned. Originally, Brett Brown was going to let Angzi continue to play the 2nd position, regardless of defense. Offense will do. Now Angzi takes the initiative to apply for LeBron James, the defense will have to take care of it, which is different from Brett Brown's original idea. But after a while, Brett Brown made up his mind. Angzi actively asked for the fight. Brett Brown obviously wanted to support, so he nodded, "Well, and you play the 3rd position in this game." Angzi sat back in his seat. Brett Brown also picked up the tactical board again and began to lay out the tactics for this game. "In this game, our lineup is McAway, and Jack Lauder, Thaddeus and Cole Aldridge, but Jay, you change positions with and N goes to the 3rd position. Jack Lauder, you go to the 2nd position." Jack Lauder nodded stupidly, he didn't understand the significance of this change. Soon, Brett Brown said the significance of this change, and your task in this game is relatively heavy. Defend LeBron James and then control the team's offense. We need a victory. And 11 nodded. Brett Brown continued, "In this game, we still stick to the previous style of play, speed up the tempo, and counter-attack fast, but we must pay attention to defense, especially you, Claude. Although you don't need to defend LBJ, Dwayne Wade is not a good opponent either." Jack Lauder also nodded, and Brett Brown finally said, "We will do a good job of offense and give the defense to Angzi and Jack Lauder. In this game, we have a chance to win." The American Airlines Arena has been filled with white all over the sky, and fans wearing the Heat's white jerseys have filled the arena. In the last few minutes before the game, the 2 teams have come to the sidelines. When the on-site commentator began to introduce the home and away team players, LeBron James grabbed a handful of magnesium powder and walked to the technical stage. Spreading magnesium powder, this is already LeBron James's iconic pre-match ceremony. There are various versions of the reasons why he sprinkled magnesium powder, but regardless of the version, standing in front of the technical stage, LeBron James, the image of throwing a handful of magnesium powder into the sky is deeply ingrained. When James tossed the powder, there was a huge cheer in the American Airlines arena, which meant that the game was about to begin. The referee blew his whistle and came to the center of the court holding the basketball. The referee in this game was bald referee Joe Crawford. After the two teams stood on the court, Joe Crawford threw the basketball high and the game began. Cole Aldridge leaped high and grabbed the basketball. Angzi took the basketball and pushed directly beyond the three-point line. Defending Angzi is Luke Richard Barmott. As the Heat's most important signing this season, Barmott exposed him in the Heat's second game of the season, the opening game with the 76ers. The biggest problem there is no offensive ability. Barmott is on the court, the Heat is almost offensively 4-5. Fortunately, Barmott has a sense of presence on the defensive end, so Barmott has not dropped out of the lineup, but his current position is actually it's a fake. Play 6 or 7 minutes at the beginning of each game, limit the opposing star players, and then David Fizdale will replace Ray Allen and other offensive players instead. After watching the Heat's defense, Angzi beckoned for a pick-and-roll screen. Thaddeus Young went around from the inside and blocked Luke Richard Barmott. Angzi quickly dribbled the ball and rushed to the three-point line. Inside, an emergency stop jumper came. With a bang, didn't enter. The opening touch was still a bit cold, and an 11 didn't care. He immediately retired when the Heat got the rebound. After retiring, Angzi faced LeBron James. However, James only controlled from the outside for a while and didn't attack by himself. He passed the ball directly to Wade. Wade speeded up the breakthrough, the layup was interfered by Jack Lauder, and did not make it. Cole Aldridge protected the rebound, and after grabbing the rebound, he passed it directly to an 11, who drove the ball directly to the front. The Heat's retreat was not timely, and they had not yet entered the state at the beginning. The same is true for the 76ers. Only Angzi and Kawhi are quick to attack, but this is enough. Angzi shouted, "Hurry up." The attention of the people was raised immediately. The 5 people rushed towards the front court quickly, forming a fast attack momentum in an instant, and the Heat also accelerated the pace of retreat. However, on the other side, Kawhi had already penetrated from the oblique side. The inside line of the Heat. Angzi found the opportunity and passed a quick, accurate pass directly, penetrating the Heat's defense. Kawhi took over the basketball, went to the basket and was about to make a layup. At this moment, Mario Chalmers behind Kawhi chased him up and stretched out his hand to take Kawhi's jersey. Kawhi was moving towards the basket at high speed. With Mario Chalmers' pull, Kawhi's forward momentum was immediately caught, and Chalmers was dragged down from the air. He fell to the floor with a bang. With a beep, the referee's whistle rang in time, but Kawhi on the floor hugged his ankle with a grim expression and was obviously injured. The fans on the scene booed, not the foul of Chalmers, but the booing of Kawhi. Heat fans thought that Kawhi was injured. The field suddenly became a mess. As the boss of the team, Angzi immediately waved to the team doctor to come on the field, and then approached the referee. Angzi believed that the ball should be at least a first-degree malicious foul. On the other side, Jack Lauder slammed directly in front of Mario Chalmers. LeBron James also went up to protect his teammates, and the referee was a little rushed. After blowing a few whistles quickly, the referee Joe Crawford pulled away the players who were about to fight on both sides, then greeted the other 2 linemen, and called out the replay at the technical stage. On the human side, the team doctor's examination came out soon. Kawhi was unable to stick to the game. He signaled Brett Brown for a substitution. "Sheet," Brett Brown snorted. The luck of this game was a bit bad, and Kawhi was injured at the opening. Brett Brown patrolled the bench for a week, and finally decided to let Taniro vacate the field to enhance the impact of the team on the offensive end. At this time, The referee's penalty also came out. Joe Crawford blew his whistle at Mario Chalmers, and directly put up a gesture, a second-level malicious foul. Mario Chalmers was directly expelled from the game. The American Airlines Arena immediately sounded overwhelming boos, and there were fans on the sidelines vilifying Joe Crawford. However, the result of the penalty was satisfied. Mario Chalmers had to leave the field, and the Heat replaced Norris Cole. The man also scored 2 free throws once, and Tony Rutan, who came off the bench, executed 2 free throws. When Tony Rutan made a free throw, Angzi akimbo and approached the side of the court, asking about the results of Mkawe's inspection. Brett Brown told Angzi that there was no major problem. He had a sprained ankle and might have to rest for a few games. Hearing this, Angzi was relieved. On the court, Tony Rutan made 2 free throws. The man began to send a sideline kick. Angzi received the ball from the sideline, and he was still defending him. To be continued. Enable new URL. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 421. For Angzi's outside singles, Luke Richard Barmett was very serious about guarding. However, an 11 played very resolutely, and directly rushed forward and was stopped by Bamad. An 11 then turned around and took the ball with his back. Pressing Bamad towards the inside, the fans on the sidelines made some noise, including whistles, and the Heat fans shouted, making Bamad kill Angzi like Mkawe. But Bamad remained unmoved and continued to guard Angzi cautiously. But when Angzi advanced to the free throw line, Bamad felt that he could not stop Angzi, and suddenly retreated the bench suddenly. Withdrawing the stool is a good way to prevent backup singles, but the good thing is to be surprised. As far as Angzi is concerned, as a top back player, Bamad's removal of the stool is a sign. Angzi realized Bamad's removal of the stool in advance. He stopped for a moment. The moment Bamad removed the stool, turn around and make a jump shot. Swish in. Angzi raised his finger, pointed to the sky, and scored. Person, leading the Heat. With the Heat's offense, Norris Cole held the ball to the front court, and then handed the ball to Bosch, who mentioned the high post. James still didn't get the ball. Angzi began to provoke. He clapped his hands at LeBron James, meaning why didn't you attack? LeBron James was really fooled. He went to the top of the arc and received the basketball after hand-to-hand cooperation. This is not the first time James has faced Angzi's defense. When Angzi was still in the Spurs, the Heat against the Spurs, James took turns to face Angzi and Kawhi Leonard's defense, especially in the first year, Kawhi Leonard. When Germany's defense was still immature, Angzi had been defending LeBron James. James, who knows Angzi well, knows that although Angzi has transformed, Angzi's defense is still not to be underestimated. Therefore, LeBron James didn't just squeeze the ball into the interior as usual. Instead, he took a cross step and rushed in with Angzi's defense on his side. Rushing into the penalty area, James directly lay up against Angzi's defense, but Angzi's interference was also very good, jamming LeBron James directly, and then extended his long arm so that James could not see the basket. James made a layup, the basketball tipped over the rim, and then left the rim. An 11 jumped directly and took the basketball in his hands. With a rebound, the 76ers launched a fast break again. This time the Heat's defense was timely enough, but Angzi outside took advantage of the Heat's defense to not stand still, and directly scored a three-pointer from the outside. With a scream, there was an inhalation sound in the American Airlines Arena. A three-pointer. Beautiful. Angzi scored consecutively and the 76ers led the Heat 7-0. The Heat have not been able to open their scoring account until now, but the 76ers have scored consecutively. The situation is very unfavorable for the Heat. The commentator of this game Turner Sports is MCBRYN, and his partner is a newcomer, Tracy McGrady, who has just retired and joined Turner Sports as a commentator. Regarding MCBRYN's Sci, McGrady also nodded, yes, the Heat didn't score consecutively, and they missed consecutive layups. Their feel looks terrible, let's see how to deal with the next goal. In another offense by the Heat, Wade and James both missed a layup, and this time, they gave the ball to Chris Bosh. Bosh framed the ball in the face, and after 2 controls, he turned around and jumped directly, hitting it with a scream of cheers. Bosh scored the first goal. It seems that this game is in good shape, but Bosh, a pseudo-giant that has been questioned. The 76 ERS front court offense. The 7:2 score made the 76 ERS offense a lot more stable. When they couldn't play a fast break, the 76 ERS choice was much simpler. Tony Roten took control from the outside for a while, and then he gave the ball to Angzi, and Angzi singles Bamad. After Angzi received the ball, there was not much time, and he broke through with a quick step, and Bamad hurriedly withdrew to defend. In the process of Angzi's breakthrough, he turned around directly, and then turned around. Bosh on the inside line was directly wrapped up, because Angzi had already passed Bamad through continuous turns and gained space to hit the basket. Bosh made up the defense, and an 11 did not hesitate. An 11, who had just upgraded his pass, directly sent a clever pass. The basketball went around Bosh's back and reached the hands of Cole Aldridge. Aldridge dunks on the spot and dunks successfully. 9:2, the 76ers continued to score. In McGrady's view, the Heat's defense also has problems. Luke Richard Barmett can't guard Angzi, they still need to defend Angzi by supplementary defense, and now they have taken Chris Anderson for Bamad. The lack of a stable defender on the inside makes Angzi's back attack even more threatening. McGrady's statement was approved by McBrin, but in fact, what the Heat need to solve is their offense. The Heat's offense, after a pick and roll in the front court, Wade once again broke into the inside, and then faced Cole Aldridge's defense, a horseback and archery. The basketball flew to the hoop, but looking at the arc of the basketball flight, it seemed difficult to hit. However, the basketball hit the inside of the hoop for the first time and bounced back with a bang, but it did not fly out of the hoop. Thaddeus Young and Chris Bosh, who jumped up to grab the rebound, stopped their hands for fear of touching the basketball and causing an interference ball. However, the basketball did not hit the board and into the frame as expected, but bounced again on the side of the basket, and then suddenly fell directly. Angzi rushed to the basket and stretched out his hand, just picking up a leak. Grabbing a rebound, Angzi did not hesitate to launch a fast break again. This time Tony Lugo, who had been dangling from the three-point line, ran fast. Angzi had just crossed the three-point line and he had already passed through the crowd and rushed to the basket. An 11 made a long pass directly and flew into the big empty space under the Heat's basket. Tony Luteng, who ran to that position, directly received the ball and easily scored 2 points for the layup. At 11:2, David Fizdale walked to the sidelines and called a timeout. After scoring, Tony Luteng ran to Angzi, the two came to a high five, the 76ers' first 11 points, Angzi got 5 of them, and Tony Luteng got 4 of them. In addition, Angzi had 2 rebounds and 2 assists. After the timeout, the Heat made adjustments. They replaced Barmad with Chris Anderson to strengthen the team's protective frame, replaced Norris Cole with Ray Allen, and let Wade guest point guard to enhance outside shooting. After 2 substitutions, the Heat resumed their offense. This time, their offense finally improved a bit. James broke through Angzi, followed by a pass to the outside. Ray Allen shook Tony Roten in a fake move, then adjusted the dribble one step, reshot, and hit a three-pointer with a scream. The American Airlines Arena, which had been depressed for a long time, erupted with astonishing cheers. At 11:5, the game continued and the 76ers served in the backcourt. To be continued. Enable new URL. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 422. The Heat's timeout was very effective. After the timeout, Ray Allen scored 2 3-pointers in a row. Together with Bosch's mid-range shot, LeBron James also broke through and caused Angzi's foul. Follow Dream Small Say A with Macron. The Heat scored 10 points in a row and quickly narrowed the point difference to 3 points. The 76ers led the Heat by 15-12, and then Brett Brown called a timeout without letting it go. After the Heat replaced Ray Allen, the 76ers defense had problems. Tony Wroten, who defended Ray Allen, often missed his position, resulting in the 76ers defense always showing some gaps, and paused. Brett Brown: the layout is also very simple. He adjusted the defense, let Jack Lauder to defend Ray Allen, let Tony Wroten to defend Wade. Although after this adjustment, the 76ers will still miss Wade, but Brett Brown is also fully considered. Wade is not in good shape in this game, or that since this season, Wade's state is very average. The Heat this season being crushed by the Pacers is also related to Wade's decline. This season, the Heat's big three have become a real giant: LeBron James, an old spoiler Dwayne Wade, and a fake giant Chris Bosh. They are still the first team in the East in terms of strength, but they may be better than not going to the Spurs. Delivering the task of defending Wade to Tony Wroten is also an adventure for Brett Brown. Wade is in a bad state. Instead of sitting and watching Ray Allen erupt, it is better to let Wade go and lock Ray Allen. After all, Ray Allen Len scored 3 points, and Wade scored 2 points. After the timeout, the 76ers resumed their offense. After Bamot left the field, the defender of Angzi became James. Angzi organizes the ball outside the three-point line. After the pass is upgraded, Angzi's organizational ability has also been improved to a certain extent. The other players of the 76ers started to move. Thaddeus Young set up a screen on the left side of the penalty area, and Jack Lauder flew directly from the bottom corner and went around. Thaddeus Young blocked Wade all of a sudden, and then Jack Lauder got an open position. On the other side, Tony Wroten also bypassed Cole Aldridge's cover and rushed to a 45-degree angle on the other side, and also got a short vacancy. An 11 drew the basketball to Tony Wroten's side, making a gesture to pass an open three-pointer. LeBron James hurriedly moved one step to block an 11, reaching out to steal the basketball from an 11's hand. But the next moment, Angzi directly let the basketball go around his side, and then gently dialed the basketball with his right hand. The basketball quickly changed the original flight route and flew straight to the Heat's restricted area. Jack Lauder appeared in that position and he received the basketball. With a bang, Jack Lauder made a great dunk. There is nothing wrong with the 76ers offense. Brett Brown's progress in passing the ball is also in the eyes of Angzi. Now that Angzi is in control of the ball, the 76ers offense can also be played more smoothly, so Brett Brown also gave it. Angzi has more opportunities to hold the ball. Jack Lauder succeeded in a dunk, and the score became 17-12. The 76ers led by 5 points, and Angzi also got the 4th assist of the game. In contrast, Angzi's personal scoring was not much, except for the opening. After scoring 5 points, Angzi has not scored a point so far. With the Heat offensive, the 76ers defense has changed significantly. Tony Wroten confronted Wade, who was in possession of the ball, and Wade would naturally not let go of this opportunity, and directly speeded up Tony Wroten and rushed into the interior to throw a shot. With a scream, it finally hit. Wade hit the first goal of the game, but Brett Brown frowned. Tony Wroten's defense is indeed a problem, or the 76ers point guard line defense is not good. Tony Wroten is often taken a step, however, Mkaway is the same, often beaten up by opponent star point guards. Brett Brown took another look at Sean Livingston on the bench. He felt that the team should make a deal to deal with the defensive problem of the point guard position. Sitting on the bench and thinking about it, Brett Brown didn't make any adjustments. Anyway, the team's offense was okay, and the defensive end also locked Ray Allen, who had a tendency to explode. Then he played normally and was dominant. Still, the 76ers, after all, the 76ers are now leading. Brett Brown didn't make any adjustments, the 76ers continued to attack. Anzi held the ball outside and faced LeBron James. Anzi made a direct gesture, he wanted to play singles with this ball. The teammates pulled away one after another, leaving enough space. Anzi speeded up, broke through James by 2 steps, rushed to a position within the three-point line and stopped, then turned around and directly chose to play with the back. Carrying James to sit and fight. At this time, the gap between Bamot and James came out. Anzi almost couldn't touch James, so no one of the Heat came to double Anzi. The other Heat players were very relieved to let James defend Anzi alone. James' defense is still very good. After all, James is also a player who is often selected for the best defensive team. Seeing that no one was double teaming, Anzi couldn't resist James. He turned around sharply and slammed into James. Before James could react, he received a strong force and was pushed by Anzi into a stumble. Then, I only saw Anzi rushing into the restricted area, stepping directly on 3 steps, raising the basketball above his head, and with all his energy, he directly slammed a heavy buckle, and slammed through the American Airlines arena. With a bang, there were several screams in the American Airlines arena. An 11 got down from the basket and slammed his chest. Anzi dunked successfully. This ball directly hit James without any power. There is no suspense for the top 5 goals of the day. McGrady, who just entered the commentary industry, entered the state very quickly. After Anzi dunks, he immediately just mentioned the stock of the top 5 and 10 best balls. Anzi's dunk does have a chance to be selected for the 5 best of the day. After all, it is a strong dunk after playing James, and it has a different meaning. After Anzi's dunk, the score became 19-14 and the difference was still 5 points. Then, the Heat took advantage of Tony Wroten's flaws and scored again and again. The 76ers also did well under Anzi's leadership. Offense. The game reached the end of the first quarter, and the 76ers continued to lead by 5 points with 27-22. In this game, Anzi also showed excellent passing touch. He scored 6 assists in the first quarter. It seems that he broke Ray Allen's single assist record. It should be no difficulty. At the beginning of the second quarter, Anzi sat off the court to rest, while the Heat, led by LeBron James and Chris Bosh, chased points again and again, and quickly shot a wave of offensive waves of 9-2, surpassing the point difference. Finally, James assisted Ray Allen to complete a 3-pointer, the Heat extended their lead to 5 points, and Brett Brown had to call a timeout. After the Heat overtook the score, the commentator at the American Airlines Arena also wailed. Before the game, the Philadelphia media said that LeBron was in poor condition for several consecutive games because he scored 61 points, but now LeBron has assisted Ray Allen finished the 3-pointer, and the Heat also surpassed the point difference, and the state was in full swing.